How to Solo the Destroyer with Scorpion in the Summer of Suffering Part 1 event. For those uninitiated, I recently live-streamed myself soloing the SOS Destroyer with various objective champions, and now I live to tell the tale. Here is how I ranked the champs I used for this particular objective. See if you have one of the better options ranked up, and maybe check that tutorial out instead. But if not, let's get on with the show. I will first give a shortened summary of the things you should be aware of in this fight. If you would like a more in-depth explanation, that, and more, is contained in my General Destroyer Guide. I swear these aren't shameless plugs, by the way. I just talk a lot, so I'm trying to section things off and make them as easy to navigate as possible. This is for you, not for me. Please believe me. Anyways, the Destroyer. There are two core pieces of info to absorb. The first is that buffs are not your friend. When you hit him, for each buff you have on you, you will get a portion of the damage reflected at you in the form of an instant rupture. And even if you use a champ without natural buffs in their kit, there are still a couple that will interfere unless you have a buff immune champion entirely. One is your dexterity buff. Not much you can do about that one since you need to dex his hits, but just know that the first hit or two when you punish him after dexing, it will count as a buff towards that damage reflection. The other buff of note is an unblockable buff you'll get from the node. It's like hot potato. There's a timer, and if it expires while you're close to him, he gets the unblockable buff. But if it expires when you're far away from him, you get it instead. You can choose who gets it by deciding whether you get close or far from him when the timer's up. Again, unless using a buff immune champion, you're going to get some damage reflected back at you throughout the fight, but you'll be fine as long as you try not to activate your biggest of boy damage when you have buffs on you. The other core chunk of info is that Destroyer has these charges, and once he gets to 100 of them, he will gain so much power over a very short period of time. There are various things that will give him charges in this fight, such as he'll get 2 whenever you parry, gain a buff, lose your dexterity buff, or, if you're buff immune, when you would have gained a buff. The actual problem though is that he'll get 15 charges each time you do anything other than triggering dexterity on any of his special 1 hits. Yes, even if you avoid the hit due to being out of range, you specifically need to trigger dexterity. He has 3 hits on his special 1, so that's 45 charges if you dex none of them, which clearly is an issue. However, he will lose 1 charge every time you inflict a non-damaging debuff that isn't stun, so parrying won't help you in that endeavor. Additional mechanics of the fight, or things to keep in mind, are the following. You will be rooted during his special 1 animation, but that's actually helpful because it allows you to better stay in range in order to dex his hits. However, again, I would really advise you learn how to dex his special 2, because he doesn't gain any charges from that, other than the couple he'll get from you triggering a dex buff, nor are you rooted for it. It's not hard to do, I promise, and it's certainly worth it rather than trying to dex every single hit of his special 1 every single time. Next up, you cannot intercept him unless you have recently punished his heavy, because he is the Destroyer, and his whole thing is being unstoppable when dashing forward. This time he's stun immune when dashing, by the way, so you can only parry stun him while he's in close range. I know I mentioned that buffs are an issue, but if you're not taking a bunch of damage by messing up and getting clipped, you should have enough health to not worry too much about hitting him when you have a dexterity or unblockable buff active on you. Just be mindful. If you'd rather be safe than sorry, you can also use health boosts so the consequences aren't as severe. And lastly, like I always say, equip your goddamn relics. But some relics give you buffs, so stay tuned and I'll tell you which ones are safe to use for your specific champion. Got it? Okay, cool. Now allow me to explain how to use said specific champion for this fight. Scorpion was not as ideal as I thought he'd be, but he's still very good. I would recommend you follow the fight approach of pushing Destroyer to special 2s whenever possible. Any relics will work here. What to know for the fight is that one pre-fight reigns supreme, and that is Scorpion's Shock Sting. His Poison Sting is total garbage because Destroyer is poison immune, and his Rupture Sting is passable, but not optimal because it renders him not immune to Rupture. Using Shock Sting means you will both be able to place your little Scorpion debuffs on him, and he'll be immune to Rupture, so no damage reflection for you even if you're hitting him while a buff is active. Very nice. If for any reason you'd like to manage his charges with your debuffs, you have easy access to those via his heavy attack. Remember that your stings will not count towards removing his charges since they are damaging debuffs. Next, for all of you tryhards out there, you're gonna have to try extra hard if you want to make his heavy cancel into special 2 mechanic work. Destroyer's unstoppable when dashing forward, so you need to make sure you have the grit passive on you from punishing his heavy. Timing that, coupled with getting him below 1 bar of power so you can safely charge your heavy, coupled with spacing, etc, it's just not reasonable to do this. Not gonna lie, I virtually never use Scorp's heavy cancel even in regular fights because I'm a lazy tryhard. Anyways, the last thing to note is that Scorpion Dearest has access to Petrify on his special too, which will significantly reduce the potency of Destroyer's power gain. You'll still need to bait a special or two, but it's not anywhere near as bad. What to do for the fight? You use your Shock Sting pre-fight, and do what you can to keep Destroyer using special 2s as often as possible. You can facilitate this by, for example, using relics to chain combos, or do the good old medium light block unfinished combo while he's above 1 bar of power to manipulate the AI into not using his special 1. My approach, on top of that, was to use whatever specials necessary to push him above 2 bars of power once he's above 1 bar, since it doesn't matter much until Destroyer's almost at power gain hours. If/when that moment is soon to blossom, use your special 2 to place the Petrify on him, and then you probably won't die. Yeah. You will now see me attempting this process, and succeeding, from the fated livestream I did. It took me more attempts than I'm proud of, to admit, because I'm not no MSD, nor no fintech, but I still got the solo with an unboosted, maxed out 6-star. Enjoy! I'm understanding better now, though. I'm getting a feel for it. I think my approach, thank you, Chair, I think my approach is just use whatever specials that will push him to the special 2. So say if I need to get him to the special 2 and I only have a special 1 ready, that's what I'm going to use. So right now, for example. And then if I manage to get enough power for the special 2, then... Aww. Meanie. So look, he's already at 60, that sucks. I was holding my block. So he's at 76 now. Oh, yay, Scorpion evade. Ah, the unblockable is an issue there. $86. I wonder if it counts, your dexterity buff. Yes, it counts your dexterity buff expiring as gaining a buff. There are a lot of nodes where that happens sometimes. Like Power Snack or Buffet, for example. When you dex and you gain the dexterity buff, they count that. But then when you dash in again and get rid of it, it also counts. So we're gonna have to, I think what I should do is get him to these, get to my special 2 as soon as possible, and hopefully get the Petrify on him, because he's gonna power gain soon. It's gonna happen. So in this instance, yeah, I think that's what it is. Okay, use it. You're gonna do it. I know it. And it is significantly mitigated. And he cannot gain charges when he's doing his power gain bullshit, so that's good. I see messages, but I'm sorry, I'm just trying to concentrate. I'd like to move on to a different champion just so I don't bore you guys doing the same thing over and over again. I like doing the same thing over and over again, but I don't think an audience, that's not prime content. Oh! Accidental light intercept. Okay, so thankfully, if we can keep preventing him from using his special 1, we should be free from another power gain moment. Oh, I almost dexed that wrong. I think we can make the special 2 here. I cannot intercept. Okay. 12%, new record for Scorpion. If I improperly dex one special 2, it's game over. So this is not in the bag yet. And do we get it? Yes, second solo. And that's how you solo the Destroyer. I hope this was able to help. Hi there, post-editing Vol. I'm very sorry for the late upload, and I was going to say that I'll be rushing the other ones out, but I think that it is a bit too late for that, and there are many more tutorials to be made, so I think that I'll just leave these villain ones up, and I'll say that anyone can reach out to me if they would like to know how to solo the fights with the following champions: America Chavez, Quicksilver, Sasquatch, Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Ham, Hulk, and Jessica Jones. I soloed with all those, and I know how to do it. Apologies again. I should know better than to make promises like that, and I'll try to implement preventative measures next time so I can keep true to my word. Until you hear from me next, thank you very much for your patience, and I wish you the best of luck in your solos.